you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Finally, here we are. And this is very, very important. And first of all, I want to send out greetings and salutations to all workers. Yesterday was the International Labor Day. And as we all, most of we, anyway, the large, vast majority of us are laborers, by the way. I want to salute all the workers globally, okay? But today we're there for a very special reason, because we get a very special guest in the studio tonight. We get a live and direct from the capital city of Sierra Leone, which is Freetown. And he is none other than a man way at the platform as a seasoned journalist. And there's a reason why I say a seasoned journalist. And most of you do know, but some people don't know, that about 5 years ago or plus, I sat across a room where this man interviewed me. And I see from that time day to now how you don't kind of transform. I make I say season. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome none other but Mr. Samuel Wise Bangura from the AYTV Media Empire. Samuel Wise Bangura, welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you very much, Prince. Moments like this, I can normally panic because I always don't use for Sido. Now the situation also today, and they ask the questions.
Yeah, exactly. So let me begin for hang your feet up. But let me start in a very, very nice way. Which first of all, every kind of profession, there is a journey to that profession. It definitely does start from somewhere. And the profession where you day in, especially at this point in time, is a very contentious one with the introduction or the presence of social media and mainstream media. But my first question to you, Mr. Bangura, is whose time where your interest begin in this particular field of journalism?
Oh, okay. Very interesting. Going back to when I developed interest or passion for journalism. In fact, coming up, my dream always don't be for become a lawyer. That has always been my passion. That has always been my interest. So, but when I started listening to international media houses, started following big people are going to refer to as accomplished media practitioners, then I tend to forget the twist. So that make me apply for read mass communication, and at both a diploma and BA level. And going forward, I thought I was going to make a switch. Say, okay, well, I don't read mass communication. Let me go do waiting. I'll be set out for. Say, let me go read law now. But I can't see myself say I cannot go out of the field already. So I decided to say, okay, you know what, let go again and see if I can able to empower myself more. Especially when you talk about journalism, it has to do with the language and how you're able to communicate to people them. So that they make me say, okay, well, let go do general art studies again. So I went again and do general art studies. And at the end of the day, now I find myself doing or manning a radio, a gospel radio station. And that was my very first experience. Interesting. So why I started doing that, that was my very first experience. The radio being a massive radio in a Lumley area. So my very first experience where I get with one Madi Eti Kaba, he currently in Ghana, now him be the head that radio station, and he say you get a very strong voice and you seem for no waiting people they talk and you're a good listener. So can't try. So give me a script. Live, no recorded anything, live. I went on air, and as soon as I go on air, the people are waiting get the radio station. Then asking them to listen, then they come and say, "Oh, that be they do this thing." That was how it all started. So I just feel say, "Oh, okay, this was a calling for me." Starting a religious radio station, and whilst I be do the calls again, I go into different. I write for different newspapers, and I also edit about 4 newspapers as alone before ever make me way to the AYV.
Wow, quite remarkable. And just before I jump to my next question, Mr. Bangura, during your time or during this sojourn, into what you are now, where you just kind of encapsulate the entire thing, so succinctly, was there any kind of influence at the time? Probably not even from a journalist level, but let me say maybe were there people that had an kind of impression at your young life? When you look at them, you say, yeah, this is what I want to do, and this is the kind of person where kind of they influence this situation on my mind?
Fortunately, yes. Now, there were two people. The very first person we actually have been seen like a role model, Prince. No politics attached. But I've been see this person as a role model. That is the late Solomon Ekuma Berewa. That is what, because of the passion I had in law and the kind of way I see this person journey through that particular fraternity. My thought was, this guy was Attorney General, guy was vice president. So I feel like he was very successful, and the way he rise to Usai Ibinde until God taking life, for me, I've been seeing a very disciplined person. So yes, it interest me in the law. But I tell you what, when I start for the diploma in mass communication, there was a time we they invite journalists them, well, the institution they invite journalists them for come and just do public lecture. So Umaru Fofana came and he did a public lecture why you should be a journalist. So now, in fact, when Umaru make that presentation, main exchange contact, we started having conversation on the phone, and that's why I always refer to her as Big Brother. But Inabi, one of the only salon journalists actually at the time, will be really inspire me for go into journalism. And I came into journalism, and up till now, I sit down, I ask if I have something that I needed a guide on. I pick phone and call Umaru Fofana, then he would tell me, say this. And so in a one person, yes, in a salon, on the global stage, you know, when I be followed Ted Koppel, you know, back in the American Broadcasting Corporation, I feel like, I mean, there are people where actually they go the extra for do things for change society, but society hardly recognize what those people are doing. You know, when DJB starts Night Live, I be think say, oh, it's DJ. But when I follow the life of Ted Koppel, then I know say Ted Koppel, now the right at the person is we actually start Night Live, and he actually be they move from countries to countries. They do Night Live on the ABC back in America. So I say, okay, well, these are the people actually I start for following up until recently. Like, please give me this opportunity to follow. I say, congratulations to my CNN guy. We just son a father. I mean, for a very long time, you can imagine the man just son. So these are the people who I don't follow. But yes, for Salon, I think they are more connected, more closer to Umaru.
Okay, kind of brilliant. And I don't have to say this, but by judgment in the chat room and prior to now, it's like you're doing quite a remarkable job. But this is the thing here, Mr. Wise. Let's get down to some serious stuff. At this very young age, and seem for be kind of humble gentleman, you have interviewed the creme de la creme of Sierra Leone, the Sierra Leonean political hierarchy. Okay, from the Dr. Candes to the how you call the ACC boss, Ben Kaifala, and many more. We can go on for name names. Do you know, yeah, sort of, or the question is more or less, how do you prepare for interviews of this kind? We know, say, when you don't do it many times, some people can be at ease, while other people then can be a little bit edgy because of the kind of person then they go talk to. Which situation you think, say, you can fend yourself if you go talk to, let's say, the ACC boss, for example, gives you an interview, and then you get for go sit down and talk to him. How do you prepare for such interviews?
Let make a case study. Let's go back to the 2018 presidential debate. Now, there was a thought that amidst all them people in the world they talk to, one of them get for be the president of Salon after the elections. And yes, it happened, say, one of them emerged as the president after the elections. Now, Prince, the term way then they go through me, that, wow, and they can't talk to certain people, so they can't talk to Dr. Samura, and they can't talk to Kande, where people, they say, the people, they are so intelligent, and they can't talk to the retired Brigadier Julius Madabu, where people, they think, say, that man, he hardly talk to the media and all of that. But when I had the opportunities and therefore actually interview them, for scrutinize them, because I think that's the responsibility I get on behalf of Sierra Leone, and say, you have to scrutinize these people we make better decision at the end of the day. Now, what do I do when I get the interviews? Then they're like the Francis Benkefala. These are gurus. These are seasoned communicators in their own way, in their own field. Francis is a successful lawyer and all of that. You get successful politicians. Now, I take few things into consideration. Prince, first, I have to realize that journalism for me, it's not a profession, it's a calling. I have realized that it's a calling. Now, it's a call to humanity. So I always don't say, being a journalist, it's not like you being an ordinary person with an extraordinary mission in society. So I always keep that in mind. So whenever I go talk to you, be you ordinary citizen, be you senior citizen, first off, I have to know what thing I go talk to you about. I have to do a research on what am I going to talk to you about, with a specific focus of what do I need to get out of this interview, so I not get myself scattered all around. So sometimes when I interview few people, some people go begin to say, no, not to that question they asked, but I have a focus. If I go ask another question, it might take me out of waiting I want to get out of the interview. So I always have a focus. What do I want to get? That is penned down. And in terms of questions, sometimes it's interesting for us, some of these politicians, then when I don't reach out to them, say, I want for interview now on this particular thing. Some of them go ask, we're sending questions though, because you know you. So, but I always don't tell them, see, it is always good. For like we get a pre-interview discussion, but I cannot give you my questions. But yes, sometimes I prepare some questions. When I go, based on the conversation, my follow-up questions can actually take over me questions that I already don't even prepare for any interview. Because, back then we were in our lecture rooms or classroom, where then they teach you what's in our news, and will tell you, say, one of the values get for do with the personality we involve.
Yeah.
So I always keep that in mind, that no matter, even that person where they don't could be, in personality makes news. So as also the most senior politician can be. Let's say you, Prince, there was last year this with you. There was a time after the after people don't vote, and few results they come out. Then the two major politicians were having the two major contenders for the presidency, Dr. Samuel Wise Bangura and the retired Brigadier Julius Madabu. They were having doubts about results and all of that. And the SLPP called a press conference for go give the young preliminary results of the 2018 elections. Yeah. And it was shown live. And as soon as the press conference ended, I walked up to the retired Brigadier Julius Madabu. I said, retired Brigadier sir, can I have an interview with you, because the whole world is listening out to you, and whatever you're going to say makes or breaks this country. And he looked at me and said, sure, let's have a seat. And imagine I was actually not preparing for that interview. I did not prepare for that interview, but I went there. I looked at I looked at the SLPP presidential candidate sitting, and I asked him, if you happen to lose this election, what do you think you can do to rebuild Sierra Leone? And his question was, I have a responsibility to uphold the rule of law. Then I start on now for flow with how is he going to uphold the rule of law amidst the controversy, the disagreement of results, and how NEC was handling the whole process. And I had the same opportunity with Dr. Samura. And and you can imagine, these are people where on a normal day, if you want to talk to, you get that fright. But not to say I know they get that fright, but I always try for make the world and Samuel, Mrs. F, try for say, Samuel, you have a responsibility, and that responsibility is millions of Sierra Leoneans. They look up to you, then they pass word through your mouth. We then not get the opportunity for ask that question. So you have to do it for them. So I always don't get that obligation, that responsibility for always fulfill for Salone people. So always I get, so sometimes that builds my confidence. Seriously, that builds my confidence. Prince.
Yeah, I think you hammer the point home, yeah, because this is exactly what I've been drive for go. That no matter how many times you do, I mean, especially, sometimes personalities does have an effect. People and they at the very, very top, and you have to go and talk to them. It does weigh down, but then you get for reconcile with your conscience. But that takes me back to something where you mentioned earlier, where you need to try for answer this. And this get for do something directly with what you talk, and I've been getting prepared for you anyway. And this get for do with humanity, journalism within the context of humanity. Because after all, you kind of impressed me on that, because nothing we was in research on widely that journalism has to do or has to be about humanity. And you, for one, as a journalist, don't express that, say, this is what your kind of journalism is about. But in this day and age, the issue here is there are many complaints because too many people in our field sort of they turn to expressing themselves in behalf of the establishment. I wonder whether you go able to touch on that. And what do I mean? Whilst you they propagate humanity, where now the characteristics the nande of a true or supposed to be the true characteristics of the ethics of journalism, people and they express their ambitions. Journalists, so-called journalists, express their ambitions by siding with power. So instead of being with the people, they rather express their feeling or propagate within the top one. And at this particular time, that seems to be the predominant discussion in many annals of news media. How much you go like for address that, Samuel, in terms of how you understand and the field where you don't there, and even though you stand as a humanitarian in terms of your journalism, yet some people within the profession does bend over backward to the powers instead of the people?
Wow. Tough question. Tough in the sense because like what how you put on so a very prevalent in with fraternity, the journalism world. And it make them very difficult for make people able to distinguish or draw a line between neutrality and objectivity. Prince, I always don't argue, say for me, there is nothing like neutrality. There is nothing like neutrality.
Absolutely.
But whatever you do, especially in the field you find yourself, you have to ensure that objectivity becomes key for you for be seen as a professional. So sometimes waiting the happen in we field, we have some, by the way, let's start on the good path. We have a very good number of serious and professional journalists.
And let me just break you through. You go continue with your thoughts now. Something I just wanted to inject something quickly. I just noticed in the chat room we get few foreign friends. So for the benefit of them, if we can flow in and out, we local parlance, because yes, we address with people, or we talk about a universal kind of profession. So for the benefit of I can see few Ugandans and Kenyans right now the platform right now. I know say we can get some foreign friends that we're interested in with conversation. So you can continue, Sam.
Okay. So as I was saying, Prince, it is very, very tough for people for able to distinguish between. For me, for example, what I practice two types of journalism. I practice the advocacy journalism and accountable journalism, because I feel like those are the areas Sierra Leone as a country really, really need many people for shed light on things. In line with your question, I was speaking to a lady called Yvonne Chin. She's a Jamaican, and she has won so many awards in the UK, in the US, and she's currently working for the Commonwealth as a communications expert. And she said, being a journalist, you are the light. You are the light.
Continue, please.
So I try to ask her, what does she mean by being a journalist? You are the light. They say, a forum, the world, be it politics, be it any profession, there are so many things that it's only those things only take us, the journalists, for bring the ills of society out to the ordinary people, for make at the end of the day they make informed decisions. And that I reflect on that for a very long time. It come back now to the question where you ask as to why you have some journalists, they use the profession as a stepping stone for make them able to reach who side they want for, which especially that conversation they get for do with politics, Prince. They get for do with politics and the economic status. Now, I always don't tell people, say, if you take journalism as a calling, then you know you have no business to compromise integrity. You have no business to compromise credibility. You have no business to compromise waiting plenty people on they call loyalty to nation, not to individual, Prince. So during the elections, for example, we've seen some journalists that you brand them. Right under salon, if you write Prince, if I just look at the bar line and are they able tell, or salon people able to tell, say, this journalist na under idea, this journalist na under idea, which is not to say they brand every journalist. Now let me tell you, for example, Prince. There was a time where Abidi talked to the Deputy Minister of Internal Affairs. By then he was in the opposition, Lawrence Lima. And on air, live, and Lima was saying, you see this APC bobo? And I was like, I was APC journalist. Prince, when the 2018 elections come near, then I became an SLPP journalist. Just because you tend for all people accountable. And up till now, I have one person, one editor, one managing editor where I edit a newspaper before moving to AYV. I edit the feature newspaper. Now, if I do a post, for example, on Facebook, it always wants for link me to SLPP. So it tells you that yes, people can brand, but what do you stand for? And what in the majority they see in you? Are you a professional? Yes. We've seen Usai, for example, this press attaché things. They make some of the compromise things. The compromise things. I mean, us journalists. But I have also seen very professional journalists will not ever compromise their profession, being rewarded as press attaché. That is because of professionalism, not because of your political affiliation. So we should be able to distinguish with emotions from with professions. If you now say, for example, if Samuel na ADP sympathizer or empathizer, if I interview Mohamed Kamarimba Mansari, I should be able to make Mohamed Kamarimba Mansari understand. So when I sit on that chair as a journalist, I represent Sierra Leone. And I have to be very objective. It has nothing to do with whether me belong to ADP, whether me belong to SLPP or APC. But I am a journalist. Prince, I always don't say the only two professions we pass journalism. Now, whether you are in the military or you are in the police, because you also in the journalism field, your life is almost always exposed as a military person, as the police person. So these are the three people I always compare in society. So we make, I always say, our jobs, the police, the military, and journalism, now one of humanity. So how do we take, say, but tomorrow I will need for go fend the Minister of Information. So like I do one fine story for him, we go please him. So I reach, nothing that easy going. We get some of them in the profession, and then few then they actually don't they kill the mainstream media, Prince. Well, the social media are not a thing for talk. I'm not saying we go kind of later, but that is
absolutely.
But that is very, very key. We have to be able to differentiate our emotions from our profession. Journalism has basic principles: accuracy, credibility, and balance, accuracy, balance, and credibility. Those three principles should not be compromised for anything. Should not be compromised. And if a journalist practices those three principles, Prince, you would never have anything to go answer in the courts. You would never have anything to go answer with the IMC because you've done what you're supposed to do. Prince, when the APC was in power, I wrote an article titled "Why Call It Constituency Development Fund." I was summoned by the House of Parliament. Yes, I was summoned by the House of Parliament. I faced the leadership. They said, "Why did I write that article? Why call it Constituency Development Fund?" My argument was, you're saying your responsibility does not include development. You should not undertake developmental programs in your constituencies. But why are you receiving money dubbed as Constituency Development Fund? Why? If it's not for development, call it Facilitation Fund. Don't call it Development Fund. That was my argument. And at the end of the day, I won. When the SLPP came to power, now, I was also summoned. I was also summoned by the leadership of the Parliament because of a story that included the longest serving member of Parliament for the SLPP. Well, the only woman we actually don't serve as a speaker, acting speaker in the Parliament. And I was summoned that why did I broadcast that particular news item? I get the woman inside, I get the other people inside, and I published and I broadcast. And at the end of the day, things came out. And I was ordered by the speaker to come back and apologize and do a retraction, which I never did because I was not in the wrong. So it's only when you actually know that you are acting within the fundamental principles of journalism backed by the law, then you know you can actually do things professionally. And that's how you gain people's admiration. It's not by you compromising or trying to do things for personal gains. Prince, if I tell you, I'm one of the poorest journalists in this country, with all my name. Now, when people see me, where are they on TV? I know they buy. That is something I need to tell you. I know they buy. I have people where actually they do me good. Because of what I do, people who are not ever meet, say no more, they say, okay, oh, I send for you 3 suits. What's your size? That's how I dress. That's how I go. I have a friend now, we get one of the fuel stations. One monitor, I just go buy 10-liter fuel. And I meet Andy. He say, oh, now you don't see. He says, so you know what you're going to be doing? He said, you keep asking those tough questions, I'll keep buying your fuel. Okay. So I don't have to compromise.
Okay, that's kind of brilliantly said, and that is the power of television. Because I remember when you did the interview with when you did the interview with me many years ago. What's the name of the lady again? You had your co-host,
Angela Angweni.
Okay, is she still there?
She's in Sierra Leone, but she's not with us anymore.
Okay,
she's now
that's brilliant. Yeah. I mean, I was just going to talk about the power of television after that program, because I think you still do have that program, Good Morning Sierra Leone, I believe.
Yeah, Wake Up Sierra Leone,
yes. Something like that.
Wake Up Sierra Leone.
Walking in my area, like get off, I used to like walking because that was the exercise. I live up Lumley, so get off at the junction, and people basically recognize me. It's like, that's the guy that was on TV. That's it. So that's the power of TV anyway, and I want to say thank you for that. But you talk about objectivity a little bit, and I wanted to push back on it. Are we saying that objectivity in sense, in terms of the context in which you use it, or naturally the way it stands, depends on, is it subjective? Is objectivity subjective? Will you say that? Because it's almost like you're talking about truth in this sense, because there might be different kinds of truths depending who is saying it, why you're saying it, when you're saying it, and where you're saying it. In other words, you've got like personal truth in this business that we are in, you've got political truth, and then you've got objective truth, if you know what I'm saying. Yeah. So is there any sense, you're here that objectivity could be kind of subjective, Mr. Bangura?
I think for journalism, there is no way you would want to subject objectivity. Objectivity has to be in its own context. Now, for that one, we sabi English, then say each word gets two meaning. It either gets in denotative meaning or in connotative meaning. For me, Prince, I always say when it comes to objectivity in journalism, we should go by its denotative meaning. Literally, what does it mean? For me, honestly, because in journalism, if you want for report, for example, many people don't know this. We definitely just do not report on truth. We definitely just do not report on truth as journalists. Many people don't know that. Now, but what we do report on and what we must strive to report on is fact. And now there's a fundamental difference between truth and facts. So, for example, if I walk up to the Minister of Finance and the Jacob Jususafa, and Jacob Jususafa tell me, say, Samuel, we've spent 50 billion loans for construct one church down here. And I said, the Minister of Finance has told me that the government of Sierra Leone has spent 50 billion to construct that church. That's the fact based on what he told me. I reported the facts from what he told me. Now, it could mean that they did not spend 50 billion. It could mean that they spent maybe 10 billion, which is the truth. That is the truth.
Yeah.
But so, and if I have the truth again, I will still put it in that story.
Okay.
So that's always, so you have to be objective. Now, what does objectivity do to you, honestly, Prince? I think say it build you, it make you get your integrity, because no matter my relationship with you, Prince, if I report a story will involve you, and say for example fraud will involve you, I have to report the story as it is, not because Prince is my friend. I have to be objective.
So I want to take you exactly on that. So just bear with me there for a few seconds. And back to the chat room, ladies and gentlemen, I am kindly asking you to exercise restraint. Let's treat each other with mutual respect. Do unto others as you will have them do unto you. And when I know saying at this platform, we need to encourage disrespect. We just want mutual exchange. Okay. We advocate for sort of a debate, even at the chat room, but it has to be mutual respect between parties. Please let the tension not rise up there. Secondly, I am kindly asking you to be very generous. If you will please share this video. We get a very, very important guest, and he's telling us just as it is. Ladies and gentlemen, he's none other than Mr. Samuel Wise Bangura of AYV TV. Okay, no need for that continue for introducing because the face is well known. You just read the story about the petrol station and the rest of it, and this is not the story all over the place. Back to you, Mr. Bangura. You mean they say something earlier on, you know, what we want to take on, because we try for
objectivity,
like where you they report a story, and when you they report that story, you are reporting it as it is. That's the way you're reporting it, and this is an angle of objectivity. And I want to ask you these particular few questions, you don't mind. Okay?
Yeah.
Leadership supposed to forget certain qualities. Okay? Leadership need for be calm, accurate, factual, and must have empathy towards its people. One, is this the case currently? And whether not the case or not, when you interview, like how you've been talk just now, when you interview some of these very, very powerful people, are you able, you know, here to like put their feet on the fire, like push back? Typical example, you just talk about Minister for Finance, for example, say, we spent $50 million in building a structure. Okay, first of all, you're absolutely right. That is the picture that he's given you. So you're reporting it as the minister, don't tell you.
Yeah.
How do you develop these kind of stories? And I want to ask you this, within the context of something we happened recently na Freetown, that na the Pandemba Road prison riot. You as a journalist, how do you develop this kind of story? Because now that's you try to articulate earlier on. How do you develop this kind of story for the public?
Interesting. That's come back to what is available. To mind you, when they operate in a society, Prince, where access to information is very, very tough. Access to information in Sierra Leone, Prince, is very, very tough. Now, going back to the Pademba Road incident, for example, how do we report that kind of story then? Now, remember when the riot was ongoing, you get different government people we go there, and then give you different figures as to how many people they lost their lives. Now, you cannot fault any journalist, for example, where reports say the Minister of Information say now 7 people lost their life. You would never fault any journalist because that information was given to the journalist by an authority.
Yeah.
So whether that was the truth or a lie, it's something, but that was the facts given to that journalist. And you get the vice president who later on go and say, and discover, say, oh no, not 12 people died. Then that same journalist can come back, say, recent findings don't contradict waiting the Minister of Information in figure being say. Now the vice president we can do is saying that 12 people die and 42 people get injured in the process. Now,
so make her ask this, Sam, if you don't mind me interjecting, because I try to forget to something. So yes,
right.
I think we kind of understand the context, which is the minister responsible, for put up government story
information.
Don't tell you say this is this, and you, the journalist, as a responsible journalist, the court waiting authority say. So no one can fault you for that. But does it, becomes the remit of the journalist, or probably within a different context or the kind of journalism that you practice? Let's say investigative journalism, for example, that you want to get to the core of the story, because first of all, as a humanitarian journalist, you feel that you get a responsibility for bring out, your stories to the general public, that even if they interview the authority, your questions are kind of piercing. If you get waiting at the try for say for the bottom for kind of story. Yes, you can continue from there, please.
I do. I agree totally. Now, which is not to say your story ends with what you are being told by that authority. Your story does not end with what you're being told by that authority, because at the end of the day, that authority has a mandate. And your mandates are for making governments look good. And your responsibility is to bring the story as it is, not to whether it is going to be in favor of the government or against the government. You bring the story as it is and allow the public for judge. So it is Nayanda, we can get them a bit confused, because we think, say, we as journalists, for example, if something don't happen, we responsibility now for make governments look bad, or we responsibility now for praise government. We responsibility now for tell the story as it is. For example, earlier, remember when the riot na Pademba Road been there on, journalists, a few broadcast journalists, then they report say, oh, Samuel Bangura die in the process, and they see and you get some authorities where they say, no, no casualty not take place. But at the end of the day, you see how many figures come out of how many people lost their life. So it means, say, the journalists that we been they be actually they see, and they tell we waiting them being they see. Now, when the government authority come, it gets a responsibility for putting government in a good lane for ensure, say, no, we're on top and we did not this, we did that. This is why we've done this. This is why, which is okay. You can bring that side. And the government, so you have to understand the responsibility of a journalist. My role as a journalist, not to convict you. Say a government authority, for example, say what you go do so wrong. That is not my responsibility. And my responsibility is not also for create a platform for make you can tell Salon people, where Salon people already know, say what you don't do so in our life, for me you can tell and say, oh, we've been good. Then you, the journalist, create that platform for twist the story in favor of the authority. That is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is, for example, Mr. Minister, there are allegations that your government has violated certain provisions in the constitution, and these are the provisions. And these are the provisions where they don't accuse you and say you guys have violated. What's your take? You say that you bring the other side. The authorities don't say they did not violate section this, that. Is that true? You are saying they violated this. In what way? That's your responsibility. Not to can't tell a minister, say, Mr. Minister, but your government are so maybe they do. Now, I'll give you an example, Prince. During the 3 days lockdown, when I be interview Sylvia Blyden and the Minister of Information. After that interview, Mustafa Bai Attila went out and say, I've been for don't ask Sylvia Blyden, because Dr. Sylvia Blyden made mention that those who were also at the front line of the Ebola fight were not medical doctors. But she wants now those who are at the front line here in the coronavirus, they should be medical doctors. But I did not ask Sylvia Blyden, Dr. Blyden, oh, Dr. Blyden, but the one that will be the first on our own Ebola during your attempt, then say not to be medical doctor. I did not ask that question. But Attila wanted me to ask that question. But my purpose for bringing Sylvia Blyden on the show was to tell Salon people them waiting na the findings them based on the amount of cases where if you don't say the government they hide. So if I had gone down that lane for say, oh, Dr. Blyden, una self wanna be the first Ebola, the people who be the front the fights not to be medical doctors. One, it give me a political stance, say, oh, this not like do me I do SLPP against APC. Two, it means say I had no focus of the interview, and I needed to get the amount of people where Dr. Blyden be they say had this thing, and people, the government saw they come out with the correct figures, and the measures were not that. I mean, those were what I needed out of that interview. So I did not go back to the minister and say, oh, Mr. Minister, why would I not bring people with the when I'm medical people for able to understand this fact, because Sylvia Blyden not talking. No, that was not my focus. If I had gone down that lane, I would have missed my focus, and it means I would have politicized the interview for say, oh, but APC self been in, so not been do. So if SLPP self do you understand? So we have to be very smart when dealing with, because
absolutely, Mr. Wise, and the way for get around now is difficult, and sometimes I think as to how people like you try for balance in between a suspecting public, doing your job professionally, and you're having to listen to what government they say. And that brings me to the next side of something where you just touch on, because you seem to preempt me next question, which is about the COVID-19. I can call on the Chinese virus for obvious reasons. Yeah. And there are many, you talk about suspicions, here back home regarding the COVID-19. How do you reconcile, the suspicions of a general public as to waiting with the Yeri, because we far away from home, because we Yeri a lot, where I will go into social media just now, but in the fight against COVID-19, waiting government they put out, waiting the tracing team they do, and where does the journalist stand in between all of this?
Now, you see, this particular question come in two ways. First off, you get for keep in mind your sacred responsibilities to society. And how are you also going to compromise that sacred responsibility because of panic or because of waiting plenty people they put under the guise of safety for people? Now, I tell you what, Prince, when we had I think it was the third or the fourth case, when I hosted the director of communications at the Ministry of Health, he categorically told me, say, they had an agreement with the consular corps, the embassies and those foreign diplomats in the country, that if any of their own people fall ill, so long as they have a conducive environment for quarantine and offer treatment to the new native, then they can hand over that person to them. Now, when there was the issue of the Italian who got infected, the director of communications told me that they indeed handed over that case to the embassy for deal with them. And government then issued a statement saying that, oh, we don't get 6 cases, but 5 day in treatment center, in government treatment center. Then there was this question of where was the one way for make 6? And I spoke to the Minister of Information about that, and the Minister of Information told me it was not to his knowledge that any case has been handed over to anybody, because so far as he was concerned, every case was being handled by the government of Sierra Leone. And remember, the Director of Communications at the Ministry of Health, they actually don't confirm, say, then we don't give that one case to the Italian case, and they handle, let all man take care of himself. So the Italians were taking care of the Italian case. So out of the 6, government was actually treating 5. And the one was with Italian. But another set of government officials say, no, government is treating all COVID-19 positive cases. So, and when the issue of community transmission kick in, when they kick in?
Let me say this. Let me say this quickly, Mr. Wise. Because we had a plan, for round this interview up in between 45 minutes and 1 hour. But on my platform, it's always very interesting, and I notice that they get information at the chat room. People actually want to call in for either ask you questions or make comments. So as a guest, respectfully, I get for ask you whether this is not something where you go want for entertain. But of course, everything here is done with respect. I can assure you of that. First of all, there's a comment I want to read. I can see the head shaking, so I can tell the chat room that Mr. Wise is willing for receive calls. I mean, when I can call, I go put them loud so it go hear the questions or statement when I want to make. Secondly, I want to read this to Mr. Wise. This is now from one of the chat room guests them. Great, Mr. Wise Bangura. But please, can you comment on an area where your program seems to be lacking? You dress very well to suit the occasion, but you allow most of your guests to appear on stage dressed, I believe it wants to say casually or something like that. Maybe they expect the same formal dress as you. So I don't know whether you control the dress code of you guess the way they appear, or certain level where you don't reach there. You can tell you guess before you come. It's like dress code is gonna be. So maybe you go and address this particular, statement from somebody in the chat room. Very interesting.
Very interesting. I see that message, but Roland, like I don't say, for example, we are not we all lucky. Like I said, me are one of the professional journalists in this country. Not we all lucky for make we get people where they admire we for do waiting we they do and decide say okay, well let's help. Now let's not forget the economic situation of the country. But once you are the assure Roland now that nobody they ever come on any of we shows dressed in a way with. Except that post we come on na Kubi. He always ensures he gets a decent shirt, gets a decent jean or material choices, but they are always dressed. But yes, definitely. Maybe what Samuel, of course, me a young man, like Prince, I want for bluff small. so maybe I will take that into consideration for say our appear. But many people waiting and care about now, so long as their body cover. So, and I think that speaks to taste, that speaks to likes, and that speaks to your interest in things. I always don't tell people maybe this is not the second time I will say and well, the first time publicly, apart from personal friends, say I almost always sometimes get some interest in how I look. So maybe that's my hobby. Not to everybody gets that day, obviously. So we know the control people out and just but so long as they come clean and decent now we shows. Yes, that's fine.
All right. Many thanks for that. I sure see Mr. Karimu. Now the chat room, listen and get the answer. So for that one, that we want call, the number for call is 077-4010-7250. You can also call on WhatsApp, and the WhatsApp number, not forget the country code. I speak to you from the United Kingdom, so now +44, and then 7432002628. WhatsApp, just like at the column, if you call from abroad, 447432002628. Okay, I think we do have a caller. Hello, caller. Do you want to participate in the program, please?
Yes, I do. Hello, Mr. Prince.
Yeah, hello, sir. Mr. Wise, you ready the call?
Yes, I get the call.
Okay, brilliant. Caller, will you identify yourself and say where you're calling from, please?
Yes, I'm calling from London, and my name is Senior.
Okay, Senior, welcome to the program. Is there a question, contribution to the program, whatever? The floor is yours, sir.
Well, it's kind of like a question.
Yeah, sure.
Basically, because I was listening to, I wasn't sure. I just want to kind of like see the boundary where a journalist gets, because I remember.
Yeah, one minute here, Senior. It's like the calls then. Let me just wait for let we say the line open. And it's not to be calling program. Another call they come in, so you stay right there. Caller, if you will stay on the line, please, because we get one caller. Okay.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you very much. Okay, Senior is back to you. Senior, are you there? Hello, Senior. Senior, you always get for learn out for be patient. He's gone. I told him to hold on. Anyway, caller, can you hear me? Okay. Getting a bit heated now. Caller, can you hear me? Okay, let me resume this caller. So, caller, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, Senior is calling, but wow, all the phones are going off now, Mr. Wise. All the phones are going off. Okay, let me see which call I'm going to pick up. Good call with Mohammed. Senior?
Hello.
Yeah, you logged off, so you were the first to call. The floor is yours. Please go ahead. Mr. Martha, you want to contribute to the program as well? Okay, you're gonna have to stay. You are stay on the line there. Stay on the line there, if you will, please, because we get two other callers.
Yes.
Or maybe you want to call back in about 5 minutes. But if you get patience, please stay on the line. Yeah.
I'll be here.
Okay, then no worries at all. Yes, Senior, go ahead, please.
Yes. So as I was saying, I think this is kind of like a question, because as I say, I was listening to a lady. I'm not sure whether it's something Bangura on AYB, whether it was today or yesterday, but I had the interview on WhatsApp wherein they were interviewing the Deputy Internal Affairs Minister. And then waiting and notice, my question is, how far can a journalist go in terms of like pressing like an interviewee? In other words, when this lady asked the deputy minister if Panema would get prison today, the deputy minister, which I think was not a sensitive question for, we will kind of like impair the investigation as to the whole thing we happen at Panema Road. But the deputy minister became like say, oh no, I don't answer that question because there is an investigation going on. With me, I feel like saying that Panema would get camera or not, it's not too sensitive for an investigation that is going on. So how far? And then like I realized the lady just gave up when the minister actually say, and as Mr. Wise actually said just now, yes, not so you need to go for kind of like in a way disgrace the person with the interview. But to me, I can I sense like the lady was kind of like, oh well, let me repeat my question again. But again, the minister refused for answer, and then like the lady finally just went away. So my question is, how far can a journalist actually press like an interviewee? in terms of like a particular question.
Many thanks. I see Mr. Wise, the shaking head. So I suppose they follow you, you talk with you talk and you're familiar with the boundaries. So Mr. Wise, you want to address that, sir?
Yes, just quickly. Now, this question we always even they come to me personally many times. For example, if I ask a question, like this particular way they talk, so you have our ladies, we ask a question, but Deputy Minister of Internal Affairs, we not get CCTV camera in Pademba Road, and he said no, that's too sensitive. Now, remember in Sierra Leone, what we are faced with, like I told you earlier, is access to information. And we have laws where actually sometimes they prohibit we for gain access to certain information. Now, the 1965 Public Order Act, for example, part 5 always don't prohibit we for. Now, Salon gets waiting and call, well, like any other country, classified information, especially when it comes to security issues. Whether those whether the information them actually will be seek are classified or not, the authorities always get an umbrella for hide under, say, oh, it's a classified information. And once you don't say it's a classified information, you have, so again, responsibility, Prince, we're not so like the one that within our CID, where you come with a suspect and you think, say, that suspect they hide something, you have to push something for get the information out of the suspect. No, that's not our responsibility. Now, the good thing is we get enlightened people, like Senior, for example, when you say, oh, maybe this particular authority, they hide some from this particular thing. So they dodge the question. Some again can be say, yes, it's the law, but again, we are not judges. Us as journalists, we're just there to ask the question. If you choose not to answer the public, say, oh, that they don't dodge the question, no one for us answer the question. So that's how far we can go.
Okay, many thanks. Many thanks for that. Let me turn over to Senior. Are you still there? Yeah. Okay. Senior, don't go. We get with next caller. At least the man don't address that. So what we go do? I go ask me next caller for hold on right there. Let me deal with this lady from what they call on the line. Super. If you can bear with me, I'll just put this lady on because now short calls. Then I come to. Is that okay? Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. Hello, caller. Are you still there? Yeah. Okay. You get for speak a little bit louder. This line seems a bit okay. Will you identify yourself and say where you're calling from, please? I don't think so. You hear that, Mr. Wise, are you?
No, I'm not getting her.
Okay, Janet, stay right there. Stay right there. Don't go away. I'll see whether I can play some magic. So, Mr. Wise, go get your question or your contribution where you want to make. Every voice has to be heard. Every voice has to be heard. Yeah.
Yes, I'm still here. I'm here. Yes, I'm here. Yes,
Prince, I'm getting the caller, but I'm not getting you.
You hear me?
Yes. Yes, I get you
Okay,
now.
there's definitely a problem here with Sister Janet. Sister Janet, I will call on the other line, yeah?
I get to now.
7 4010 7250. So it's 0774010 7250. Call on that line. This line seems for me a little bit dodgy. Okay. Yes, caller, you get for hold on right there. So I get somebody before you. So I will come back to you now. So short question from Mr. Wise. Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you very much. Okay. Hello, caller. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you loudly.
Okay. Will you identify yourself and where you're calling from, please?
This is Supermed from the United Kingdom.
Okay. You got a question or contribution for making the program, Mr. Wise is all ears, please.
Yes, please. Thank you very much. And thanks to Mr. Wise as well. I just want to say, as a journalist, when I a very reputable journalist in a saloon, waiting Mr. Wise get for say about the recent way journalists then get arrested because I'm bringing come in attention to Mr. Jallo, we get an investigative case, so they arrest him. Then Mr. Fire Musa or something, we're going to tell him, I think he said they investigate something about Corona, he got arrested. And now lately again, Dr. Sylvia Olainka Blyden as well has been arrested, and so what are the effects of journalists in a salon today? I believe he's a member of Salon Journalist Association. So what how you see the effects of journalists and press freedom in the country today?
So I think that's a direct question, Mr. Wise, and I can see you they shake your head again, which means that you hear the call loud and clear, you they follow. So the final question was waiting at the fate of journalists in a salon today, based on several things. I mean, the question is all yours, sir.
Thank you. I think that question there, how we can rewrite that question there, for example. Now, like if you get thief man with a thief, and you get a police officer we know say that thief man is the thief, and always one for kind investigate that particular person, there's always going to be contention, and there's always going to be that bad blood, and not forgive that police officer a way for get his stuff investigated. Now, about us journalists in Sierra Leone, like I said, the first thing we have to deal with now the Part 5 of the 1965 Public Order Act that criminalizes libel. Now, the fact that they criminalize libel, it makes it very, very difficult for we, Prince. Now, because the defense in all of that, truth is not an absolute defense. In that law, truth is not an absolute defense. So sometimes that particular law, they make even we, the journalists, and they afraid for right or talk about things so not truth, because truth is not an absolute defense. So the defense, according to that particular law, is say it has to be in the interest of the public. And who determines what's in the interest of the public in this case? Listen to the logic. Who determines what's the interest of the public? It's the courts. And who is the judge presiding over that particular matter? It's a judge appointed by a government. And if you have an issue with a government official in a society like Sierra Leone where everything is perceived to be politically influenced, then you think whatever story you do would be in the interest of the public. No, it will not. And so at the end of the day, you have to be a criminal, which is why we are saying decriminalize the seditious, the libel law, and let it be civil. If we publish or defame somebody in character, the person can go to court, but as a civil matter, not as a criminal matter. Because once it becomes a criminal matter, automatically it is you against the state. And that is not what we want. And because of that law, they make plenty of they compromise credibility. How? In the sense that if we money not there, and nobody know they can invest in this profession with that kind of law day. Because if they find you wanting guilty of a seditious criminal libel act, Prince, not just you, the journalist, not just you, the owner of that media house, the suffer, but even the entire media house would be closed. So it means your investment is not safe in journalism in Sierra Leone with the existence of that law. So with the existence of that law, yes, us journalists were not safe. I'll tell for free, we are not safe. We can always be muscled, we can always be arrested, we can always be taken to court, and there is a justification under Part 5 of the seditious criminal libel law.
Okay, I think that sufficiently addresses the point, Mr. Kamara. So anyway, I need to move on, here to the next caller. We don't miss over 12 calls from people in the call. So, okay, let me just answer this. Hello, caller.
Yes, hello.
Okay, at least you get. Yeah, Timo Sachs, you get for hold on. I get a call on WhatsApp, and the WhatsApp phone not seem for the function. So if I answer you now, I go lose this caller. Sister, can you identify yourself and who's you the call from, please?
Oh, this is Janet Martha Musa. I'm calling from the UK.
Brilliant. Sister Martha, is it a question, a statement, or whatever? The floor is yours, please.
Okay. Something the way Mr. Wise Bangura just said just now about the seditious libel law in Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
When he say a lot of journalists can be free for rights because truth is not a defense.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but I know say in the law of tort, if you talk about libel, it means to say you don't write something about somebody way not true. So that I go make the libel case itself you come up. But if you talk something way not truth, then you shouldn't have any case to answer to. But then I understand the position where they express.
Yeah.
In real situation in Africa, I mean, I don't know scholar where the truth gets for them, you know. So you go find us say this particular situation, they restrict journalists them who actually come out and say things as they are. But I just want to say to Mr. Wise Bangura, you know, I've been watching it for a little while. I'm not saying you could be a future, you could be a future for journalism, the face of journalism in Sierra Leone, because some of the principles that we teach today, and something we don't do in a classroom many, many years ago in the 80s. I was so impressed when you talk about the truth and the fact. Anybody who don't read law knows the two things are different. You know, a lot of people say, can the truth not be the fact? Not really. And I want to say to you, keep up the good work. I should say other people, they will go emulate you. You know, you are the interface between the people and the state. Thank you very much.
Okay, Sister Martha, that was a brilliant, succinct contribution. Of course, Mr. Wise, not a lawyer. So, Sister Martha, you know, you manage for, you know, you meander all around, you know, you're making points clear, but at the same time, end up on a high note by commending Mr. Wise for good journalism. Thank you very much, Sister. Yeah, thank you so much. The lines are open, by the way. Unfortunately, the other line not seem for the function, so we miss so many calls. While we wait for the next caller, let me see who this next caller is. We can get down to something where we go let. Anyway, while we wait for the next caller, Mr. Wise, this is the thing I wanted to ask. Remember, we'll talk about social media, you know, yeah, briefly, and we know say we'll go into that. The thing I've been want to say about social media, we they talk about, you know, yeah, some kind of issues, if you will like, between mainstream media and social media. In other words, social media. Okay, I'm call. Hello, caller. Say you want to participate in the program, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just 30 seconds, please. In the issue about mainstream media and social media, how do you reconcile the two? Because somehow, even your own platform, so and it's kind of foresee us be to side and how you carefully manipulate and maneuver, not to manipulate an appropriate word, how you maneuver between the two for produce, you know, yeah, powerful storylines where they capture the imagination of the nation and the people. But I will want you thought today, because we'll get caller on the line. Let's see what's in the call again. Maybe you'll just kill two birds with one stone. Caller, will you identify yourself and where you're calling from, please?
Yes, I'm calling from the UK.
Okay. Tell us, Mr. Bangura is all ears.
Yes, for ask Mr. Bangura. I see for senior and super med. We talk about classified information, then we talk about civil matter. Yeah, I've been just want to ask how it manage in an institution where a lot of people say the ownership pay in line. So how do they manage, particular, how do they manage information there, where for credible journalists, but at the same time, majority of the people in Salon believe say the institution it for belong or get with the ruling party. What's in a comment to that?
That's for let Mr. Wise answer, obviously, but that is a strategic and tactical question, Mr. Wise.
Very. Let's answer that question, B. Very interesting. Now it goes back when the APC was in power. What was said about AYV, that AYV was an establishment of the APC. Now, when SLPP is in power, now the other way around, that AYV is a pro-SLPP. Now, yes, make no mistake about that. The founder, the president of the Africa Young Voices Media Empire, Ambassador Anthony Navo Jr., in 2007 contested for a parliamentary seat under the ticket of the SLPP. Now, who runs AYV? Is it Ambassador Anthony Navo Jr. or us as management and the board of directors? Now, I think Ambassador Navo don't go publicly, don't say he is no longer a politician. And I'll tell you for sure, Ambassador Navo has given the leeway to us, Prince. Practically, I will tell you, the media wing of the Africa Young Voices Media Empire is being run and managed by credible journalists, and I'm fortunate to be the team leader. So it tells you that when it comes to, in fact, I head the editorial board of AYV, and our editorial policy is on the website. So people can actually take a look at that policy, look at our operations, and make a judgment as to whether or not AYV is political. But I will tell you for sure, so long as us the professionals are there, and Ambassador Navo is very supportive of whatever decision we make. And now, if Ambassador Navo even has, say, for example, family or whatever, he has to call us and say, Samuel, Lamrana, Antonia, Stella, these are the things where people always say. So he always, they come back to me for us. And we always, if we disagree with him, professionally, he goes with what we say. Bottom line, he goes with what we say. So there's no politics in the operations of AYV. AYV is apolitical and remains a very professional media house in Sierra Leone.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. We have another call. Identify yourself and say where you're calling from, please.
You talking to me?
Yeah, I mean your name calling from. You are live, by the way.
Yeah, my name from Reading, UK.
Yeah.
Question is to decide to help us understand as to where Lima goes AYV there is dominating and seems to have a policy.
Okay. The
Prince,
question
you have to repeat it for me, yeah.
Mr. All the time. I think you heard it. You want to address that, please?
No. Can you please repeat the question? It was coming in broken.
In question is, why does every time the deputy minister goes to your station, he sort of dominates the conversation in the studio? Why is it? That's why the man from Mr. Mansari, I believe.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
right.
All right. I think so that question actually is meant for the retired Lieutenant Lahai Lawrence Lima, the Deputy Minister of Internal Affairs of the Republic of Sierra Leone. But what I would say,
Mr. Wise is saying,
yes,
that the question will be appropriate if you can address it to Mr. Lima, the Deputy Minister of Internal Affairs, because again, from a journalistic point of view, when he goes in the business of asking him the questions that they want to, how Mr. Lima conducts himself, they bear no responsibility for that.
Yes.
You have another question? You wanted to do something? Hello, Mr. Mansari?
Yeah, but that was one of the questions. And then second question, one also asked, but I would like to repeat back. One of journalists, all irrespective of him now, they need to be safe, but they fear so much for express the right of ordinary citizens who will not get the upper hand in the government.
It was at the core of the beginning of this conversation, and you being very, very special in terms of humanity. I guess this is where this question comes from, or the concern from the brother So from your perspective as a humanitarian journalist, police are not taking that opportunity of being on side with the people. Instead, they are on side with the establishment.
Yeah. I think like I mentioned earlier, it gets to do with personal commitment and why you are in this. So it goes back to, this is not a profession. Journalism should be a calling. And if you're going to answer to that call, you know your responsibility, your allegiance, your empathy, your sympathy should be with the people and not the establishment. Should be with the people, because at the end of the day, the people have the power to choose who they lead them. And so and they can only make that decision when they are well informed. And how do they get to be informed? Is by us, the journalists, the kind of information we pass through, we give onto them that will in turn inform them for make critical decisions, whether as to continue with a particular system or change a system. But again, it takes us individual responsibility.
Okay, Mr. Mansari. You've heard the explanation, sir, and I hope that's okay. And I want to say thank you very much for calling from Reading tonight. Let them know about then and now, and let's share this video. So thank you very much.
Thank you too for taking my call.
You're welcome. Okay then. Bye-bye. Okay, we've got another caller on the line. You identify yourself and where you're calling from, please. Okay, Mr. Karimo, you're calling from?
Yeah, I'm calling from UK.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. I don't know whether I'm question or whatever, but the floor is all yours, sir.
Well, a question is a statement, and first and foremost,
Roland, hold on right there for me 1 minute, please. Hello, caller.
Hello, Mr. Kroma.
Yes, sir. I know I'm using an info, so you cannot hold the line for long. But if you call back in 2 minutes, and then because you've made 3 attempts now, please will be the next. So call back in 2 minutes now. Okay, thank you very much. Go ahead, sir.
It's a nice
program. Mr. Bangura, did you hear Mr. Karimo?
No.
They say a nice program.
I think the line break, the internet.
Yeah, the line is becoming unstable. But Roland, go ahead and speak. Congratulate you for saying it's a nice program. You did get you?
Yeah, me to get you.
Okay, I think Mr. Wise they hear you now. So go ahead. Go ahead.
Mr. Wise is an addendum
to we make the comments about the dress code.
Yeah, I pretty much understand your response, but waiting I be actually want to add on that. It has 2 things, Mr. White. First and foremost, I believe your program is geared towards a worldwide something. But many times about when you air your program, you should come to people phoning in. You probably, they might not be your side, or I don't know, it's not something you're aware of. Maybe it has to be your production team also. They calls to people within Sierra Leone, and you get a lot of Sierra Leone that we can really do on their phones for them phone in for contribute. Where they call from abroad, calls are only limited to Sierra Leone. So, Mr. Wise, another advice with you for doing your program, but I will say that because your program is credible and objective, like-minded people like we for will contribute and contributing of return. I believe you really demand them for let them decide, okay, if you have phone-in program, starting at 12 phone-in programs, at least 3 or 4 winners from abroad. It doesn't matter like America, Guinea, or whatever, but at least you have Sierra Leoneans, only those few people with it from low. No, I know they try for demean them, but we Bangura. That now one of me
concern.
I hear from your program besides the information in the country, it's something a problem. Someone knows, Mr. Wise, information is power. I mean, in order for you be a credible journalist, you can go all out for getting information, right? Rely on government sources. Thank you for letting say put it under my use credibility.
Absolutely.
So why make us say power, right? I mean, it comes down to one thing. I mean, now AYB is a credible media. Enough AYB nothing for spend money for get the right source. That is the thing. Not only for go rely on government sources, because this night don't bring Salon down. And many journalism, this night bring down because they don't believe in the power we they give to people. They believe in the fact that when I get story, you call Mr. Acebo, I get story about you. Mr. Acebo, which you get about me, go, then go arrange that accommodate. That is why journalists not get no respect in Salon. And I believe you don't come out of that system where you don't really draw the bar, right? And I very much the fact say you not somebody where you don't beg for. People think of you because of what you they do, they offer you something. That's not to anything wrong. But that not mean even when they do that for you, you still go on and hammer them. That makes credibility with itself. So my contribution tonight is think of the people where they live beyond residency. They are very much interested in your program. So give them that opportunity, at least say they contribute. Not only limit the call to freighter, and that's where the problem is.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
Okay, Mr. Karimo. More like an advisor you admire and feel say it can add value to your value. And I sure say that will be considered. And
definitely.
Also like something which was a question where Abiwan posed to you earlier, which is you dealt with it, but Abiwan expand or waiting the Americans can go say like a kind of a pushback. This foreign call quickly. I will end with Mr. Karimu. We've got his point clearly. Caller, will you identify yourself and where you're calling from, please?
This is Prince Kroma. I call from Holland.
Oh, Mr. Kroma, you've got the floor. Questions, statements, whatever. You are live, sir.
Well, it's just a statement. I just want to know because the director, some contact with the BBC, nothing from there, and they will more better if that one will work out so that we will get more and more news from AYV. And secondly, Mr. Wise, some of you they admire you, to be honest. You know, a very young gentleman. And your advice is please don't make them drag it to politics. Some of you tired with the politics of that country. You understand? The ATC and the ATC all type of getting on the other way, like this, like that. Never allow that. If you look in Africa, we don't get more of good journalism. This late man from Ghana, from Larry Moore. People the way Ghanaians are the crowd of coming up, please don't mix it. No political party. Just maintain the kind of maintain. You're very young and you get a long way for good. Like some of women get great respect for during the Makaban time, even during the Jonta time, the NPRC, the AIPRC, to Makaban time, even to Aneskurumine time. But this later on, we don't see how they play, how they play around. Because at times, we make a thing the way they happen in the country. Like the election this area constituency 101 or 2, whether minister would 3 ballot boxes.
110.
Yes, then this guy also, this notorious guy, this Arata, was going round rapping. You never report. He did nothing. Actually, see na UIB. So some of them here they make, they laugh down, they drop down, and one of them, they get great respect for them. But this last 2 years, where you do things, if you would know, say they do 1 or 2 things, but yeah, we must think. So my advice is just keep focused and everybody to become not everybody will become a business. Then if you maintain and keep your respect, and if you will push it on the map.
Yes, that was an advice directly from the Dutch Republic, Holland, and from none other but Mr. Parius Kroma. Mr. Parius Kroma, thank you so much for that. It's much more like an advice to a young, aspiring, coming up journalist. We are time season, ladies and gentlemen. And for of you who are just joining the platform now, I just want to make it clear to you now that we did talk to none other but the seasoned journalist. I call them seasoned. I know some people then call me, it's like, what make them seasoned? Well, if you not be know, over 5 years ago or so, I sit across the table and this young man interviewed me. And I know, I see him as a very young man. So I see the evolving of a young man from Usai Ukomoda Tende to Usai Wide. And if the man don't interview all the top man there, the Samurais, the Madabius, the Kamabas, the Francis Ben Fala, and the Yumkelas, I mean, what is left, and you can see it kind of tailor insert towards the whole package where you go talk about proper journalism, which is meant to be about humanity. And this is where I am impressed as a co-journalist myself. I'm kind of impressed because it's meant to be about the people. But under default circumstances, how do you manage with the prevailing circumstances? And these are some of the questions or advice people in the give, because you get to protect yourself, you're a member of a union, you get responsibility towards the state and the country, the country and its people, and the government as well. So these are the kind of challenges. But I've been there for say something to you, which you talked about earlier on, Mr. Wise, where Mr. Karimu equally touched on in terms of an advice, which is, if journalism is powerful, but you get for sort of acquiesce the powers that be, because one, you want information, you want to walk out the corridors of power, because for some journalists, the power where you make standards as a journalist, now the kind of news where you report, the kind of people where they interview, and you don't reach that kind of peak there. You've talked to, if not every one of them. But for let you get a power to interview them or get access to them, it seems like something has to compromise. Or do you have like a magic wand where you can just wave and then just see you as the journalist? Or do you sort of compromise on principles? I know you did ask that earlier on, how you did manage. But because come on, and this is now one of the questions who we want to ask you, decide for Brian come back up, because this is not something where me and anybody else out there know. If you want Corey favor from the establishment, you want be like the man where they break the news, the breaking news. Pandemba Road has been, Ramstad, that you get your source. There has to be a people you give and take, then give and you take. Is that the situation, Mr. Is it something you would say is the case, could be the case?
There is always going to be a give and take. But here is the thing. Why, for example, I will call any politician, no matter in status, na salon, and pick me call. That I can tell you, and humbly say, if I call any politician, it miss me call, it call me right back. Now, here is the thing, because when I go, I interview that politician, I don't want you to transport for come back to my workplace. Prince, I don't. Because I get me transport for take me bike, we can go, so I go interview and return back to my office. So that is one principle way. It's something I know the compromise. So at the go interview, you give me your transport, say you get for keep your transport. Sometimes if you don't, some other time, we know to what, but what's not in this job right now we are in, I have to find my way back to my office and on me home. I know, so that's one thing. We sentence some politician can they that journalist they can ask for money, can this? I am not, and I don't see myself going down that lane. I don't see myself. And about the sources, in a country like Salon.
Yeah, go on, Wise.
Okay, in a country like Salon, for example, it takes trust for make people able for the give you information. That is very, very important. Trust. Say, for example, if something they happen at Ministry of Finance, a Ministry of Lands, I always they get that information there. And I constantly get information there because the people, me sources them trust me. They know say I would never compromise their job. I will never put their life on the line because of the information within they give me. So it takes trust. And at the end of the day, myself, some way, somehow, for certain information, they buy, Prince. Actually, they buy some information from people. And it's so funny that because when you take home center at the end of the day cannot take care of you for the month. But this, like I said, it's a calling. It's a calling. So you, no matter what you do, you have to do what you have to do to get things right. So I know they take politician transport, or go interview and come back, and the sources them are always protected, and I ensure say that trust and confidence is always up. It should never be shaken.
Okay, thank you very much. I wanted to make a contribution to the program. Hello. I mean, if it's no, we are live, you know, yeah, you can. Yeah. Did you want to contribute to the program, sir? Oh, okay, no worries. Later, bye. All right, Mr. Wise, we're coming towards the end of this program. It's been a fabulous program. Those of you just joining with a big una on allow share this video. Don't be in a brilliant interview conducted, and Mr. Wise don't almost touch on every area. Very, very professional, I must say, because the temptations and how for meander around many things within the corridors of power, within the judicial system, legislative system, the executive, and just general of the country, and your responsibility as a journalist. Now, fine gentlemen don't manage for address and some very critical questions. I'll get them for say, Mr. Wise, as we draw down to the last one or two questions from this very interesting take. Okay. One question I asked about be interfere with a caller. Now, journalism within the present scope social media. I mean, they asked whether there are any parallels. You know, yeah, because your institution, of course, I know they can watch and listen and maybe can have something from out of them. But how do you manage mainstream media, social media, where people can find, say, they don't get empowered? Whereas before, you have been ran between government and the people vis-a-vis the people and government. Now you get social media where people can just at the click of their phone, they are live and they can say anything where they want to say. How do you reconcile these two? Are there any parallels? Do you sometimes draw up your story based on maybe like watch social media, let's see waiting and they say and waiting at the vibes there and etc. How does it work? Give us a sense, Mr. Bangura, if you will.
Okay, I think this is it. For many of us, we actually don't focus more on the negative side of social media and the way people actually don't misuse that. But we actually don't focus on that too much. Now, for example, Prince, the advent of the new media don't make broadcasting or journalism so easy, give it a better coverage, a wider reach, and get more audience. It caters for everybody. Now, for example, we're doing this. Somebody can hold in phone, put in earphone and ears, they follow the conversation. That is the power of the social media. That's the power of the new media. And what we're saying here are facts, not all based on waiting one person to sit on one corner, say send audio on social media or video or write anything and create chaos. Now, I think say the traditional media, the television, the radio station, the newspaper, foresee the new media as a conduit for reach the world. Not to for just left another box. If you're a television broadcaster, you just left what you do another box. How do you use the new media for reach more audience? And yes, I don't use even messages on WhatsApp, on social media, on Facebook for confirmed stories. If I go see something on social media, say they don't go arrest so person, for example, that's a trigger for me. I have to make calls for verify, say yes, this has been done. Yes, this is happening. And I have to go there. So many things where I will tell you, say, for example, are breaking news. Some are things so we get from the social media, and we just don't have to rely on what we see on social media, but we have to go and verify that it happened, and we take them up. And the trust is still there for us as traditional media people. Many people they see things, even if not true on social media, they will still have to pick their phones and say, Mr. Wise, but I see so thing on social media not true. I have so many of my international my diaspora friends. They go pick, we get me number, they go call or send me message, say, Mr. Wise, I see so, but is this true? Is that and sometimes I have to tell them, let me come back to you, because I have to go and verify. And when I do the verification, then I come back to them to this or A or B. So it's actually, I think we should use the social media more and look at the advantages where it brings to journalism in terms of reach and speed as well. Speed, that is very, very important. Speed. How soon the social media don't create a platform for make information reach people in real time. That is also key. It's also key because today, if you know, first you go, you get lights now, you also let you watch TV waiting there phone. First you get radio or buy, you get money for buy battery for listen. But now, your phone don't make it so easy for verify things. So I think say that is very key. But again, we get certain people. For example, I mean, they work with one journalist. I see on social media. So long as that's where they write or where they say they against the other side, where they against the interest, they take them and publish them as it is. And that they always be the create trouble for we. And at the end of the day, we have to say, no, enough is enough. We have to part with, because this is not what we stand for. We stand for accuracy, balance, and credibility.
Brilliant. As we come to the close of this interview, I want to step up one notch. And this gets something for do again. I think now the caller from Ready, where he asked that question about an individual, why every time where he come to studio, of course, I do understand where you come from, but that's where I want to go into exactly. And in this case, not on an individual basis, but rather, there are expectations of the public in terms of how we can scold with public officials. Will you say that journalists are meant, to double up questions or to do follow-up questions? In other words, exposing the failures of either the establishment or politicians. Are there journalists, because a lot of people are complaining, and I just see under the chat room as well, so decide for Brian come up, but this was a question. Do journalists in the country, sort of brave the storm by holding politicians accountable for their actions?
Yes, we get few journalists, and we actually practice accountability journalism, and that is very, very key. For example, you have authorities we actually want for dodge certain questions. So you don't follow me. Me, for example, I get different ways for ask the same question, just so I'm able to get that question or get that answer from you. I go ask one good question, maybe 3 or 4 different ways, just so I'm able to get that answer out of you. Because the people where they come as well, they are so smart. And then they come with a preconceived thought, say, that day, if you say they can expose me, or that day, if you say they can't sit down, I can't talk with enough for talking na media. So they always don't get that kind. So then they come with a defense attribute, a defense mentality. And you now, on the other end, get an attacking mentality. Say, okay, I am going to be asking him the questions, or I'm going to be asking her the questions, and he or she has to answer. And so if una get that, then there's going to be clash in that interview. Because 2 opposing views can't see like it's going to be a debate. So that is why I'm always saying you always have to keep your focus in check. Don't deviate. Sometimes they allow this interview for go round, but you always know there is going to be a time and a point for it to come back to why you call them for canceling that chair for, and they ask them the question we make you call them for come that interview. It's very key, and I think so. We get few journalists. Them honestly, we don't do that in a salon, and we are trying. We're not there. There are so many challenges, but we are trying to ensure that we raise the bar
and continue for raise the bar and set them at a pace we know say any other person will come under have no option but for follow and maintain that bar.
This is the final question to you, Mr. Wise. It's been a brilliant round, but this is the final question. Have you developed any personal relationship with any of these powers that be, politicians, businessmen, all these people that you have interviewed over the course of the years? I mean, somebody who is just a phone call away, somebody who you can call maybe 3 o'clock in the morning and it's like, I need this information, sir or madam. I've just heard this. Will you help to provide this? I mean, someone who is a phone call away. Have you?
Prince, on all sides, I have very good friends. I will be here. I will just send a message to Kade Kole Yunkela. He will respond or call right back. I will do the same to Samura. He will do the same. I will do the same to Kamarimba. He will do the same. I will do the same to, well, now he's the president and much more busy. But yes, I had that. So, and I have very close people to him who would always come back to me just like that. So yes, I have built relationships over the years with people with the same relationship and respect. I don't build with other Igbo for referred to as ordinary salon man down the street. Prince, where are the work? Where we don't do something once. When I walk, the same way I talk to that person we see me at to go say, oh, Samuel Wise, that's the same way I always build and maintain a relationship with the one that we always consider for being up there. So I always build that same relationship, that same respect for everybody. But that will never, ever compromise my stand as a journalist, as that person we get a responsibility in society for ensure say society.
And I've been unfair in a sense, because I said I posed the last question and I can see the effort for wrap them up. But traditionally, even when I can not say at this platform, I can not say final question. I can get a follow up, and this is it. I can kind of yield the floor to the guest, so that the guests in their own way, can wrap up the program. And I promise you, this is it. The floor is yours. And for me, I'm not going to ask anymore. This will be the end, and we'll only pause when you pause for the closing music. And which is, you are kind of a role model now in many respects. There are people just like you took the cue from the late Solomon Berewa Solobi, may his soul rest in perpetual peace. Okay. The same way how, as young as you are, other people then they look forward, to being you in a different kind of style in that you're making, but you the influence and inspire them. Waiting will be your message for those when they aspire for go into this kind of a profession where you not like for call them a profession, you rather prefer a calling. Waiting will be your advice and any final word for the people of Sierra Leone, the wider diaspora community within the context of journalism and with present state, in terms of politics, social, economics, in the country.
All right, let me start with a popular philosophy of, now you go out for refer to as a cliche. People will always say information is power. And I always don't try for craft and say accurate information is what is power. When that information is accurate, that is true power, because that's only when you can make informed decision. Now, let me speak to we people there. There's this new concept in journalism called citizens journalism. And I think that's one of the challenges we face.
With a small G.
Citizens journalism. Everybody feels that they can be a journalist. Everybody feels, because freedom of expression. Yes, of course, the 1991 Constitution guarantees we all that. We all have to hold opinion. We all have to impart ideas. We all have to speak freely, clearly. But do we also understand that journalism is a profession?
Yeah.
Just like law, just like medicine, just like the other fields where you cannot just grab one day and say you're a lawyer, you're a medical doctor. No, that's also like journalism. And so if you just grab, for example, you send message, say, hey, Mother B.O.B. say, this thing will happen, and now it don't happen. Oh, Sylvia Blyden be say, this thing will happen, now it don't happen. Dr. Samuel be say, this thing will happen, and now it don't happen. Without consideration to the basic principles of journalism, that does not make you a journalist. It makes you a citizen where they want for voice out in your opinion where you're entitled to, but also there is a limitation, because if that opinion goes contrary to public safety and public order, public morality, it's also a crime, because majority of the population of the members of the population will get hurt by waiting with the say. So there we people, there we brother, there we sister, there we mama, there we papa, there we woman, there we man them, where they don't choose for call themselves citizens journalists. We they ask them, do ya, if you want to be journalist, nobody know that we need a tap on, we need plenty. We need plenty, but please just observe the basic principles. And you don't even need to go sit on a lecture room or classroom for let you get them principles in it. You go online, you train yourself. I always don't say, for example, YouTube is a free global university. You can be tutored and get everything done. But please just ensure we do things with respect. I always don't say, I get certain people, Prince, where I don't interview on. Then they call me back. But me man, cut that side, that side, you quiz me. You quiz me. Then at the time I can make like at the time I get the worst network on my phone. I not get what you say, sir. Please come again. Then I drop me call. Maybe I will call you back after that interview. Scared. Yeah, I mean, I just meant there are so many ways to, but you have to know what you stand for, and that is why I say with people them, we all understand the need for express yourself and ensure so well contributes to waiting to go on and conversations nationally and globally. But let we just try for do them in a way we will be able to protect Salon, protect yourself, and protect the world. That is very, very key. And about us now, where we say we are the professionals, we are the professional journalists in this country, Prince. I know we have so many challenges. One, plenty of who they live by with ID cards. Says until we go interview, go meet person, what they give you, and what you give you, and they determine which will go right or which will go broadcast. Yes, I know that day, based on the current economic situation. And we get so many media houses where they pay well. We're not able to even pay them people them. And you get people away on the volunteer for certain institutions for years. And then only depend on where they go interview. Maybe if me a politician, they can interview me. If I give 500,000, I definitely don't dictate the pace of that story. It has to be positive. And that is when the politicians, then they define journalism. Politicians always say get two ways for define what is responsible and what is irresponsible journalism. For them, responsible journalism is what is in their favor. And what is against them is irresponsible or reckless journalism. So, but if they don't give me something, now we go practice responsible journalism, that is in their favor. We support them, we sing them. And that is not why we are here as journalists. I know the challenges that we have to feed. We have to take care of our loved ones, our kids, our family. But you can choose for going to other profession for make you able to raise money and take care of your family, but left journalism, don't use journalism as a conduit for and can't to the profession. And today we good journalists them at this country, we get plenty. Let we keep the good work. Let we keep the faith and ensure, say one way or the other. When this law go out, and so we'll get many people will come and invest in this profession and in this industry, we will change with stories. Prince, I don't move now some continents. I don't talk with plenty of people. I don't meet, for example, Prince, with humility, no brag, with humility. I don't go US, for example. I don't meet with Senator Sean Steele, when are the chairman, the state chairman for the Republican Party in California. I don't talk to Senator Leon of the Democrat. I don't talk with the governor Arnold Schwarzenegger. I don't talk with registrar and these people, and all waiting come out of all the interviews then they Prince. Now the fact say you have to know your craft. Your craft can make way for you. Not to follow you compromise the principles who they guide your craft. Just know what you're doing. And it pays. Don't compromise. When you stand for something, Prince, it pays. So to all we good journalists then, let's now continue for BR. we're not about paying them. Let we be here. Things will be okay someday. Things will be fine. Things will be fine. And to all we Salon people then now finally, we all have a responsibility to make Salon. I always don't say people say we have to rewrite the narrative of Salon. And we can only do that. The other day, just quick one. The other day, I get some young people that would say, the old politician had no one dine for them give a chance. I say again, you don't look at the other side of the coin. Maybe they're old politicians there, they don't see the right youth them it's where they feel say for trust and hand over the power to. I say, so why we young people then not go try for let them we prove to the old politician and say, no, we are ready and we are capable for take the leadership of this country. I say maybe, just maybe, then go say, okay, well, una go ahead. But I'll just not left for the people no say, they are greedy, they're not for left power. So now I say, so it's always two sides to a coin. So dear Salon people then, let we try for change this country in a positive manner. We know say things are hard. We know say everybody gets your political affiliation, but your political affiliation should not cover your lens, for block your lens of patriotism or nationalism. We all have a responsibility to make Salon. And when we make Salon, Salon will be fine for all of us. And all we will run for go other side and go on, come back for staying at Salon, because no matter what you do, this is the only place we have to call home. God bless we all, friends.
Wow. I mean, I haven't had, here, most of me interviewed and can end on a high note, but every other interview after the other end on a more higher note than the last. And this is, for now, has ended on a more higher note than the previous one. And ladies and gentlemen, I just want to commend the host, and the guest, Mr. Samuel Wise Bangura. It's been an exceptional run, and you can see the chat room, and I want to commend Mr. A. Boy Tennyson, for example, for expressing, some sort of advice, to people that we want to call. Dr. Catherine, for your kind sentiment. Will J.K., Wilsa, it has been a while. I hope the family, they do well. People that we not normally watch, like DJ Rahim Sokinda, Sister Ayodele Silvis, and many others. I'm sure by the end of this program, thousands will have watched it and thousands more. But it's all due to our guest tonight, Mr. Samuel Wise Bangura. Mr. Samuel Wise, I guess this is the first, but it's not going to be the last. And I guess the audience will want to see you again, because you've done brilliantly by many expectations, and you can see the commentary in the chat room, because this is not easy. How you chat your way between the politics, like I said earlier, the parliament, the politician, the judiciary, the legislative, and owning up to your responsibility, which you've done quite well. And for this, I want to commend you. Thank you very much, sir. I will speak to you later.
Thank you. And I'm humble. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're very, very welcome, brother. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of another very, very exciting, important, and significant program on the Then and Now, obviously. I've been your host and presenter, Prince Kroma. Today, the 2nd of May, 2020. And for go back again, I want to salute all the workers. Remember, I said yesterday, I've been Workers' Day, International Labor Day. And me, as a laborer myself, I identify with all laborers, millions and millions and millions of us globally. So I salute them. I also want to use this occasion. Remember, I say the guests not get nothing to do with this, but on this platform, I want to say all those that perish at the Pandemba Road prisons riot, both the guards and the prisoners, may their souls rest in peace. I want to use the platform for express condolences to the families, the bereaved families, all the ones that we lost their lives. After all, they are Sierra Leoneans, just like us. No Sierra Leonean is more Sierra Leonean than the other. No judgment, because we are under a jurisprudence of innocent until proven guilty. Until then, even though these men were serving various sentences, they still were entitled to their human rights. So for this, I would say may their souls rest in peace, and to the bereaved family, we they say, let we hush. And we look forward to the investigation team where the government don't set up, so we go get to the bottom of this. Because when one Sierra Leonean die, it means something. So we really, they wait for Yeri, waiting government get for say. The people are watching as Unakin Yeri, the guest, sound very reconciliatory at the very end of the program. If Sierra Leone progress, we all progress. It is a collective thing. It's not an individual thing. It should not be personal.